Hi, I'm Sandy Ray, founder of Sandra E. Ray, CPA, where we alleviate financial headaches so that you can create a bigger impact. Today, I want to talk to you about charitable solicitation registration. What's new in 2023 for charitable solicitation registration? First of all, what is charitable solicitation registration? It's basically all about giving donors peace of mind, knowing that their contributions are going to the right place, they're going to be put to good use, and make a meaningful impact. Charitable organizations provide a valuable service to our society and promote the public good, and donors want to support that. So it's no surprise that there are bad actors out there that are using deceptive practices to scam individuals into sending donations to fake charities. So the states have committed to protect the residents of their state and the donors from these bad actors. In 2023, some of the regulations for charitable solicitation registration have changed slightly in 2023. We are actually down to 41 states that have requirements. There used to be 43. That means 9 states don't have requirements. But the requirements in the states that do have it are different in every state. There is a uniform form that some states use that help us in completing the registration, but not all states use it. So what is the common ground, or is there any common ground, and what is it? Guiding principles of charitable solicitation registration are basically the same in every state. Registrations required by any charity, professional fundraiser, or external consultant. Now, each state has its own requirements. You're going to register with each state, and each of these entities have to register. And that is basically the crux of charitable solicitation registration. Once you've registered, you can solicit in that state either via internet, telephone, direct mail, or in person. So some states say that even a donate button on your website that's out there on the internet, that's enough to trigger their registration requirements. Does that mean we have to register in all 41 states? It could be. The other common ground for all these states is that registration is required before you solicit in that state. Now, these commonalities come from what's called the Charleston Principles in 1999. Several of the state employees or representatives got together and said, hey, we need to make this easier for the charities to comply with these regulations. So they came up with some principles to kind of guide the states in coming up with these regulations. They wanted them to be dynamic enough that they would withstand the relevant law changes and changes in technology, but they didn't want to discourage charities from being able to comply or from using things like the internet in order to solicit donations, because let's face it, the internet is the easiest and most cost-effective way to solicit donations. So they wanted to provide us with these cost-effective methods, but at the same time, they wanted to protect their residents from the bad actors. So that's why these regulations are in place. Now, there's 2 things I want to talk about the Charleston Principles, because there's 2 common myths. The first one is if your consultant is registered, then because you're using that consultant, you're registered in that state. That is not true. The consultant, the charity, and the professional fundraiser all have to be registered in the state if you're going to solicit for charitable contributions. And that you only have to register in states where you're actively receiving donations, and that's not true either. If you're sending out solicitations into states, that means that you have triggered. So I know that this topic is very complicated, and if you haven't done anything yet, I want to encourage you to take this first step. Check your state's charitable solicitation registration requirements and do what you need to do to get registered. If you're lucky, you're in a state that doesn't have it, but I'm guessing since there's 41 of them that do require it, you're in one of those states. So get registered with your own state first. Then look at your donor database. Where are those donors living? Get registered in those states. Check out their websites, find out what's required in those states, and get registered in those states as well, if you're not already. And after you've done that, then I want you to look at where you're sending your solicitations, whether it be email, paper, sending people, calling. Get registered in those states so that number one, your state, number two, the states where you're already receiving donations from, and then the third step is where are you sending out information and actually actively soliciting. After you registered in the states for those three steps, I want you to look at the other states' requirements and perform a risk assessment, and then prioritize based on that risk assessment where you need to be registered next. If you live in New York State and you're a local charity, the chances are you don't need to be registered in California, at least not immediately. Find out, that's probably a low risk for you. The other thing I want you to do is incorporate this into your regular day-to-day administration, including making sure that you have a budget, not only to cover these fees, but the cost of someone to actually complete the registration forms, to send in the 990s if they require an annual disclosure, all those things that need to be done on a regular basis. Now, it may be more cost effective instead of using your own staff time to hire a consultant to do this. And there's several really good ones out there that can speed up the process for you and free you up to do the things that you need to do to focus on your mission. One thing I want you to do is just to really step back and not look at this as the state's just one more paper I need to fill out, compliance issue that we need to deal with. This is really for the protection of the donors. In addition to the protection of the donors, it's for the reputation of our industry as a whole. We want to eliminate those bad actors and get them called out and shut down as quickly as possible. And charitable solicitation registration is just one way that we can make that happen. When you register, you're listed on that state's website, and it's just another step that we can take to make sure that we're being transparent with our donors and the public in general, that we are doing the right thing with those funds that they entrust us with. I want to thank you for joining me today. And remember, that creating a bigger impact starts with stopping the nonsense. If you're dealing with nonsense in your nonprofit organization, we'd love to help you cut through the noise.